Hello, thanks for joining us on your channel of choice at this time, Africa Independent Television. Welcome to Focus Nigeria, your program where we put the searchlight on and dissect for your better understanding topical issues shaping our polity. My name is Benga Aruleba. Glad to be here this morning. It's a fresh week, and the expected resumption of the National Assembly this week for plenary after over 2 months recess, of course, raises the pulse of the politics. And so many things are already brewing. No doubt the legislators will have their plates full once they resume for plenary tomorrow. Some of the many issues that have happened in the absence of the national lawmakers include the military operation currently ongoing in the southeast, Operation Python Dance 2, the classification of IPOB as a terrorist organization and its subsequent proscription on Thursday on the order of the Federal High Court following a formal application by the Attorney General of the Federation. That move has only doused the intensity of the street talks and support for IPOB, particularly with the heavy presence of the military in the southeast region, ready to enforce the new reality. But on the other hand, the legal arguments rage on as to the propriety or otherwise of the court order proscribing IPOB made pursuant to an application by the Attorney General of the Federation acting under the Terrorism Prevention Act 2013. Now, what does that law say? What is the requirement for an order of prohibition or order to label an organization a terrorist organization? Has that been followed here? It's a raging argument, as I said, and we will be providing all these fresh perspectives this week. The other issue, again, no doubt, an urgent assignment for the national legislators as well, is the argument, raging argument over the necessity or otherwise of a new bill titled NGO Regulatory Commission Bill, currently pending before the National Assembly. The bill, which has gone through 2 readings, first and second, in the House of Representatives, is currently awaiting a public hearing. It's been generating so much controversy since last week, following a campaign being mounted by the civil society against the bill. And that campaign has as its arrowhead Professor Chidi Odinkalu, former chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, who in a short video campaign, that short video campaign has since gone viral on the social media. And that campaign mounted its scathing criticisms of the intentions and the provisions of the bill. Now, while the intentions of the bill could be gleaned from the surface of the bill, that is if we believe its promoters, the intentions, which are largely hidden or barely concealed, are evil and aimed at taking away the rights of the people by denying them the right of a voice to criticize or hold government accountable, and this is according to the antagonists. It's a very contentious and divisive issue, and since last week, the views have been very diverse. But we are picking up that this morning. The chairman of the House Committee on Civil Society, Honorable Peter Akpatason, and a philanthropist who has been involved in humanitarian work for over a decade through her NGO, Princess Modupe Ozolua. Both will be joining me shortly as we kickstart our approach to this issue. But let's take a listen to the short video that I mentioned earlier. It's the short video by Professor Chidi Odinkalu, which has escalated the controversy over this bill. And of course, it will serve as our prologue for this morning's discussions. There you have it. If you've not seen that video before, you saw it now, but I tell you, this video and another one by Eze Oyekwere, similar to that, have gone viral since last week, and of course has raised the ante on this issue. I have joined me at this time for our first entry into this issue, Honorable Peter Akpatason, member National Institute, MNI. Honorable Akpatason is Chair, House Committee on Civil Society Organizations and Development Partners. Honorable, good to see you.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Thank you, sir. Also on the platform this morning is Nigeria's foremost female philanthropist. She's been doing this for almost 2 decades now, Princess Modupe Ozolua, the founder and president, Empower 54. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Empower 54 is not just about Nigeria.
No, it's not.
You told me long before now that it's about all the 54 countries that make up the African Union.
Yes, we're currently working in Nigeria, in Democratic Republic of Congo, and also in Liberia.
All right, good to see you too.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Honorable, let me start from you. You are the chairman House Committee on Civil Society and their development partners. Ordinarily, one would have thought that this bill would be your brainchild, but I'm told it's not. I'm told that the deputy majority leader, Honorable Buba Jobri, is the author of this bill, the sponsor of this bill. Tell us a little bit of the history of this bill. Is that an executive bill that came through him, or is his brainchild? And what input has your committee made into this bill? Because this is your call, really.
Well, thank you very much, Benga. It is true that it is not the brainchild of the committee, but it is the responsibility of the committee, to carry out the public hearing, which is the next stage of the bill. Actually, it's the deputy majority leader's bill. It is not an executive bill. It is, an individual legislator's bill. Okay. Now, when the bill was, sent to the committee, the first thing that we did was to invite civil society organizations to show them the bill, and we gave them, those who attended, we gave them a copy each. Go and study, and let us hold other meetings to look at the documents. We had a second meeting, and at that meeting, which was a bigger one than the first one, we agreed to have an interactive session, for CSOs and NGOs across the country and across various thematic areas. And that held on the 27th of July, at Rockview Hotel in Wuse 2. CISLAC, and CIS, were, part of the, organizations that partnered with us, and with sponsorship from USAID to hold that session. And a lot of people were invited from, the 6 geopolitical zones to attend that program, and it actually took place. The bill was, looked at critically, and CSOs aired their opinion, and then we took it back to prepare our report. Now, the next stage is to hold public hearing on it.
That report that you wrote, was it before it passed to second reading, or after? After it had passed?
We have not written a report.
Okay, but the bill has gone to second
I'm talking about the report of the interactive session.
Yes.
Yeah, which is for the consumption of the committee at this level.
Okay. Okay. So it was after that you passed the bill for second reading?
No.
Has it passed to second reading?
It's after second reading that is now committed to the committee for public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, the interactive session you talked about. I'm just
post
second
reading. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the second reading took on board the views expressed during the non-formal interactive session.
No.
No. Okay, but you are still going to hold
it at the second reading. What happens is legislators look at the pros and cons of the
intentions of the bill,
the intentions of the bill, the strengths and weaknesses of the bill, and make amendment where necessary.
Okay.
Then it's now committed to the committee, the appropriate committee of the House to conduct a public hearing. Okay. And the essence of public hearing is to give members of the public, interested stakeholders, and anybody for that matter.
So the civil societies will be having another opportunity
exactly.
to
Why we went extra length, actually, to conduct that interactive session is because we are aware that anything that has to do with CSOs and NGOs is a very sensitive issue. In the 7th Assembly, there was an attempt to also, legislate on this, and it was met with serious, resistance. And I, being somebody from that background, as a committee chairman, you know me as president of NUPENG, a national trustee of Nigerian Labour Congress, and I've been in this struggle all my working life. So I thought that as chairman of CSO and NGOs committee, I should give them a platform to look at this, and then we interact and critique the document so that we reduce areas of disagreement. And if we think that it is a no-go thing, then you articulate that position, you bring it to the public hearing, where you now make it formally and officially known, and then the committee will prepare the report and submit to the House.
Has a date been fixed for the public?
Not at all. Contrary to what we are hearing from certain videos going, making the round, nobody has fixed a date for public hearing.
But that's the next
stage. The House has not actually made funds available for public hearing. So you can't be fixing a date when there's no budget for it, no fund for it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that background information. Princess, here, for me, having read the bill, having listened to some of the criticisms of the bill and the argument in support of the bill, two things here stand out. Intentions on one hand, and question of suspicions or trust on the other hand. These are the two extremes, two forces that are driving the current controversy.
Absolutely.
Yes. Through our interaction, I know that you have also read this bill in and out, and you probably have come to that same conclusion.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I would like to commend the National Assembly and your committee for this initiative. You're welcome. It's long overdue, because some individuals some organizations have definitely given non-profit organizations a bad name. It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone you give a donation to is living off donations. There are a lot of comments that have been going back and forth about people getting enriched from IDPs and whatnot. First of all, let's be very clear on the fact that some individuals, some NGOs, and some government agencies have exploited IDP situations. So nobody should be pointing fingers at anybody at this point. However, every transparent and self-respecting organization is happy about this. I think the reason why there are a lot of also addition of uproar and confusion is because this is something new to organizations in Nigeria, whereby you're being called to be accountable. For us, for Empower 54, this is not new to us because we're a US nonprofit, and in the US, what happens is when you register your organization, be it like a CSE thingy, it's considered a corporation. It's not an NGO, really. People can donate to you, but they do not get a tax deductible. Then what you do is you now go further. You apply with the IRS. You pay a fee. You put in your application. When you're approved, you now have a tax-exempt status, meaning you're now legally, fully, a whole different stage of a nonprofit, meaning whoever donates to you gets a tax write-off. We do not send reports to, we do not send a pre-planned project to the IRS. They are too busy to be dealing with such rubbish. But at the end of the year, we send a detailed report to the IRS. It's expected, it's mandatory. We state what we spent our monies on, where we got the monies and whatnot. If they have issues with that, the IRS will call you. If you can't explain yourself, handcuffs, you're going to jail. So I see that what they're trying to do here, what we want to do in Nigeria, is similar. I have read the 30-page document. First of all, before I read it, when I heard, I said, oh, fantastic, but I don't want to jump to conclusions on videos and hearsay. I want to be very clear because this affects my organization and affects even more the lives, the underprivileged people we're helping. The intention is good. After reading it, I read all 30 pages. I said, you know what, this is not bad. But there's some major red flags in that document. If you don't mind, I will tell you what I expected to see in that document and also what the red flags are. Because this bill has gone far. Those of us that are in support of it, it's obviously because we have nothing to hide.
It's not wholesale.
No, but it's because we know that it's great, but if it's done right, it will be good. But if it's not done wrong, this is a very dangerous bill.
In other words, there are some areas of the bill that you would like to see expunged.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, I will tell you, first of all, what I even expected to see. Because from what I understand, Honorable, is that this bill is to empower indigenous local NGOs, create transparency, but it applies to both international and local NGOs, is to create capacity partnerships and things like that, which is fantastic. I read it. The only thing I saw in that document that shows that this commission is going to be, in quote, helping us during the process is that the commission would assist with applying, well, referral letters to the Ministry of Finance for tax write-offs, clearance duty for imports.
Yeah.
Apart from it, there's nothing else that's beneficial.
It's obstacle.
Not really. Yes, you got that, but also, you know, there's sanctions, making sure that international NGOs that bring in expatriates consider Nigerian staff first, and that their expatriates cannot overstay on their work permit. That is, by the way, let's talk about how we're supposed to be helping Nigerians.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let's talk about the local content. What I expected, or what I expect to see in this bill, for example, are the following. One, when an organization goes through this registration process, it is great. Once you get vetted, and you're now recognized, you've been separated from those that are just going around saying they're helping people, but it's a means to an end for them. We should have, like what we have in America, the ability for our donors to have a tax-exempt benefit there. So for example, if I come to you and say, Mr. G, come and donate money. We want to build this school in Bayelsa State. You know, first of all, you might be a natural philanthropist. You're like, you know what? I have children. I love doing this. Okay, here's some money. But to you, you might be like, look, I have my responsibilities. What am I getting out of it? So that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have to come from your heart. But as long as you get something out of it, it's a win-win situation. So what do you get out of it? You donate to us. We've been vetted. And then what you now do is that at the end of the year, when you're filing all your taxes and when we're sending our reports to the commission, you get a tax deductible. At that point, individuals, corporations will be more than happy to donate because you're getting a benefit, monetary benefit from that, tax break. I expected to see that because that will help local content, local organizations growing.
But secondly, it's not there. Rather, what you have is that if I want to raise money, for instance, for a particular cause, I need to first of all write to the commission that I want to undertake this cause, and I want to raise money.
Mr. G, I think let's not jump to assumptions. Let us have him clarify on this, because that is a major. Because at this point, you know, obviously there's a time issue, but I would love to point out other benefits that really should be there. Yeah, but if we say let's even get to the major problems of the existing bill as it is, there are about 4 major red flags I saw. One, you just mentioned that we're supposed to send in, let's say, for example, let's say the bill is in effect now, it's law, and Empower 54 has to send to you itemized programs that we're going to be doing next year, 2018. We send it to you. You look through it, all of those bits, and then who we're going to go to, vendors, who we're going to go to, sponsors, partnerships. First of all, that's highly unrealistic.
Exactly.
That's
considering the fact that humanitarian work will be spontaneous most of the time.
Thank you very much. I can tell you, next year in January we're going to do a school in Bayelsa. I can tell you, in February we're going to do something in Kogi State. Whatever. We can tell you anything. I'm going to go to Mr. Gbenga for donations. Mr. Gbenga might not answer me till December 2018 if he answers at all. And also, partnerships are spontaneous. Yeah. Recently, I'll give you an example. Just a few weeks ago, one of our partners made available to us vitamin A and albendazole medication for 620,000 children, which we just sent to Kinshasa, to Congo, which is on ground right now. They're waiting on me to come for us to oversee the distribution in the whole state, in the whole province. That already we're working on it. Yes, I knew that was going to happen. But just a few days ago, we now have resources for Nigeria. The same thing, albendazole, vitamin A and prenatal vitamins, enough to give all the 36 states and the FCT in Nigeria if we wish. If I had given you a report a few months ago, I couldn't have told you this. I couldn't have told you this 2 months ago. Sorry. This just came up. Now, while we're now having the headaches of how we're going to work this logistics, who do we want to work with? What states do we want to give this to? You have to start dealing, because of course every professional non-profit knows that any state you go to, there's protocol. You need to communicate with the ministry in that state. We can't just go to Edo State and start distributing medication. No, you communicate with the Ministry of Health, meet with the commissioner. Do you need this? Where do you need it? We work together. Instead of us to focus on that, because that's already tedious as it is, where, from what my understanding is, we now have to run to the commission and take permission. It's highly unrealistic. It doesn't work. The information is necessary because you want to know where it's coming from, whom it's being given, all of those bits. It's fine, but that goes in your annual report. It's just like now, it's like last year. As you know, we evacuated those malnourished children in Bama. We were the ones that went into the field. I personally led a delegation into Bama and evacuated 1,800 malnourished children. It was not an international NGO that did that. I did that. Mr. Benga is very much aware of that. So in that case, should I have abandoned Bama and ran to Abuja to get clearance to save children where we're carrying dead children in our hands? No. The intention is good on this bill, but it needs to be worked on. That's one. Another red flag. In there, it says that there's going to be a volunteer commission or committee.
Committee.
Off the bat, when you see it, you're like, oh, that is great. But Honorable, please, you put to cancel that with immediate. It's not just even cancel it with a black marker. Use white out and white it out. I will tell you why. Nigerians have gotten the impression that when you volunteer, you're to get paid. No. Even when you go to the UN website, it says when you volunteer with the UN, with the United Nations, and it's a foreign trip, you are paying for your own ticket, your own feeding, your own accommodation. Yeah. In other words, you're on your own. Yeah. Philanthropy should come from your heart. Volunteering is free. You don't expect anything out of it. But what is done on ground here is different. Volunteers are given allowances and benefits. It's a means of
creating employment.
So you have, even as I'm on the field, I know what is happening, what should be there and what is not there. So you have so-called volunteers come. And so what am I getting paid? You're like, excuse me? If you're getting anything that is now being mandated, then that's employment. That is not volunteering. If we wish as an organization to give you something, to say, you know what, here is lunch, you know, because field work is very hard. It's not easy. People think NGO work is easy. It is not. Yeah. It's not. It's a lot of risk we take. It's a lot of sacrifice we make. You know, it's ridiculous. Then they come. And then you have a right as an organization to say, no. It's against our bylaws. We cannot, in America, you cannot give a volunteer anything. You're going to jail. You are going to jail. They are not employees. Because that is wrongful spending of, it just does not happen. Now they want to create a committee, commission, whatever it is. In other words, you're saying you want to create a commission, a volunteer union. No, it's not. It's a volunteer.
Self-regulatory committee.
It says volunteer committee.
Self-regulatory.
Yeah. You see, the problem with that is, Mr. G,
you see, serve in that self-regulatory committee, not commission, please.
Okay, committee. You see, the problem with that is this. When you walk into Empower 54, they are coming to volunteer. As you walked in freely, you can walk out freely. I don't have to be regulated for nothing, and you don't have to stay for more than 1 minute if you decide what you're coming to volunteer for is not what you want. It's beyond your capacity. What is going to happen is you're creating a volunteer union. The next thing they will join LLC. They'll be demanding. No, but it's true. This is, let's be real. The problem with us Nigerians is that we're never realistic and honest about facts. That's why we never move forward. Okay, what happens? No, hold on. What happens is the next thing they will dictate the hours volunteers should work. They will or volunteer. The next thing, because it is work, you're not coming to sit and be looking at television. The next thing they will say, they will
don't work Saturday or Sunday.
And they will say what you must give them for allowance. They will dictate this. Then the next thing you will have people showing up in your office. How many volunteers do you have? You have to come and register with us and tell us how many. What is that? You're holding us hostage. What will happen is only the very big international organizations can afford to have volunteers because now it's based on the highest bidder. The local NGOs you're trying to help will suffer. And who is going to suffer? Is the poor people we're helping. It is not us. I can tell you that for free.
All right. You have raised two red flags. Let me just put you on hold there. Okay. I'd like you to respond to all of this. But start from the issue of this pre-registration. Why is it necessary if all NGOs already have one agency or the other regulating the activities already? I'm not so sure if you are an NGO, if you can operate in Nigeria, if you are not registered one way or the other, either by the CAC or whoever. Why do we need to create another bureaucracy to understand? Apart from the fact that, for me, every time you identify a problem in Nigeria, the next thing that comes to our mind is to create one big bureaucracy. Here, I have seen one that will have as many as, is it 36 or so, members who are entitled to salaries, all those fat perks, and all of that.
Well, the intention, as stated in the bill, is to create a clearinghouse for what we currently have in different, agencies. Presently, as we speak, you can hardly lay your hands on any particular database where you can say these are the numbers of NGOs in health, in water resources. You don't have such information. You go to Planning Commission, you go to CAC, you get different, but there's needs to coordinate all of that.
Absolutely.
That is the essence of, that suggestion for a commission, right? So that it will also support the current campaign for ease of doing business. Instead of an NGO that is coming to this country to have to go to 4, 5, 6 places, you have a place that you can go to. And if you need information, there's a place that you can go to.
One-stop shop kind of thing.
That is what I'm talking about. So that is the idea. It is not to compound the process for anybody. Right? Yeah. Then talking about the volunteer thing, I think we have different opinion about that. I don't know who is right, but I think I've actually studied it over and over again. But anybody can, be wrong, and anybody can be right here. But what is important is that, in the end, if it is exactly what you think it is, then there is need for us to make some changes there. But what I think it is that the committee is to regulate their own activities. You are NGO. I have an NGO too. We have our NGOs, right? Yeah. Now, members from such NGOs, we volunteer to be part of the committee that will come up with their code of conduct for NGOs. The government, what the bill is saying is that the government should not give you code of conduct. You come up with a committee that we say, okay, this is the code of conduct. This is how we'll be, relating. This is how we'll be conducting ourselves. It has nothing to do with volunteers who render voluntary services. That's not it.
Then why is it titled as volunteer?
So we need to, sincerely, we need to get, maybe to speak about it at a different forum where we can actually come up with a bill and dissect it properly. Okay. And, very soon we'll have such opportunity, even before the public hearing. But sincerely, I don't think it has anything to do with volunteers who work in, different organizations. That's not it at all.
Then that is great.
The second red flag you raised is that's the volunteer thing.
The first one was about us having to get clearance before any activities.
Exactly. The issue of if the fact that most NGO work, particularly the humanitarian side of it, are spontaneous. Maybe you went to a place, you identify the need of a community, and you think you could raise money to address that need. Must I need to write a proposal first? Must I need to write a request to the commission telling them of the proposal that I'm making to another organization to seek for financial assistance to execute that dream? Do I need to go through all of that? Wouldn't the end be defeated?
Yes, for certain operations. That will affect certain operations.
Except that the bill is not making exceptions.
No, see, what is in the bill is not about every bit of thing that you have to do. It's talking about your long-term plan. It's talking about your annual plan, for instance. Most international NGOs, they actually have such information already. They present such information to National Planning Commission, which is now a full committee, right? So you need to present your long-term plan.
Honorable.
So that does it need approval? Let me tell you what. Does it need approval when
I don't know.
It is wrong.
You don't have to approve. You don't have to approve. Project for somebody who is offering service.
Can that be done once in a year and annually?
But that is what is there.
This bill is supposed to empower local NGOs. We don't have the money international NGOs have. They can plan for the next 10 years because they have the money. Many of them are funded by 197 UN members countries. What are we talking about? Are you going to compare? I know people, okay, that their so-called organization has 3 members. But I promise, no, it's not funny, but I promise you the places they go to and the things they do, even the international NGOs don't do it. So don't laugh. Yeah. What are we talking about? You mean they don't deserve the respect?
Yeah.
How can they plan in advance? When they're running to people like you and I, please, what do we have, what can we? And then yet, we enter places, people will not enter because they are so, their policies prevent them for security reasons. So that is not realistic. At the end of the year, we send in our report. You cannot compare us whatsoever, especially that contradicts what you're trying to do with this bill, Honorable. What you're trying to do is help us, the Nigerians, the Nigerians. Your bill is killing us. Another thing, no, I'm telling you. You will see it from an administrative, well, no, from a legislative point of view, or policies, this is it. Those of us on ground, I spend more time on the field. Forget what I'm wearing today. I'm usually in baseball cap, and I'm in the field. I'm from brass in the creeks with gunboats with the Navy to places in Bayelsa and also to as far as Borno State, where we're dealing with Boko Haram, to the Congo, the rivers in Congo. So I know what's up. And if we do not, people like us do not input in this, it's those that sit in their offices and write reports and do research that we bring, but they have no idea. When you write research, it's completely different from what we meet on the ground. Another red flag in this bill, there is something in there that says, when a state or states create an organization to conduct humanitarian assistance, relief, blah, blah, blah. In other words, you're saying that Nigerian states are now given the authority, or rather they can now create their own NGOs. So I don't know what's going on with that. So because in other words, this is not just going to hurt, because in that case, why do you need NGOs in Nigeria that you're trying to help the capacity? And then at the same time, you're saying that the function of NEMA and SEMA will no longer be needed.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on with that.
That's section 22 of the bill.
It's there, I read it.
An organization established by a state or group of states for welfare, research, relief, public health, or other forms of development assistance shall not be eligible for registration under this state. Should we encourage that in the first place? Because if part of the intention is to promote efficiency, the state agencies are the ones that are even more complacent, and they are the ones that you are exempting from your searchlight, from the searchlight of this commission. Why should states and the federal government have beyond what we have now? NEMA at the federal level and SEMA in the states.
Well, like I said, at the beginning, the essence of public hearing is for us to come up with these red flags and other observations, and you properly present a case to convince, the people that there is need to change some of these provisions. I actually don't understand why SEMA and NEMA and the rest of them should be treated differently. I don't understand that.
No, but sorry, that is not even included. This actually hurts SEMA and NEMA. What this says is that if a state, like my state, I'm from Edo State, if my governor decides, you know what, he's going to create his own NGO, his own organization, was exactly, that's the language there. His organization to conduct humanitarian aid and assistance. That's saying it's now a state-owned philanthropy, or philanthropy entity. So in other words, other NGOs like my own Empower 54, I can't go to my governor and say, look, we want to do this program, let's partner sponsor it. They'll be like, sorry, I already have our Edo State NGO is already there. In other words, you're also saying you're putting out of operation
the private ones.
Forget even private, you're hurting yourself, the government. You're now saying you don't need SEMA anymore. You're now saying you don't need NEMA, because if all states have their own relief agencies.
That's why I said the argument should actually be that we don't need any state-run NGO other than SEMA.
But of course, but why is that in there?
Any organization that is already owned by a state, how does it qualify as an NGO? Non-governmental.
Yes.
If it is owned by government.
So it should not even be there.
So this session is even unnecessary.
Absolutely.
States shouldn't be encouraged to set up NGOs. Because when you say an organization established by a state or group of states for welfare, research, relief, public health, or other forms of development assistance shall not be eligible for registration under this act, you are referring to SEMA and NEMA.
Which already exist, and they're already offering those services. So you're saying that you don't need them anymore.
No, I think what that is saying is that you don't need to classify them as NGOs and then, group them with the...
No.
But a state can set up organizations along these lines.
These ones are already existing.
The state already has an NGO.
No, what I'm saying is that NEMA and SEMA are already existing.
Yes, they are.
So you don't have to turn them to NGOs. I think that is what that implies.
No, NEMA and SEMA are government, federal government.
What this one is saying is that states can actually set up.
Exactly, that's what it says.
They will come under the purview.
Is this independent of SEMA and NEMA and individual organizations?
So if they are NGOs, not governmental, let's just leave it at that. Let's not bring in a provision that will encourage them to now set up
Absolutely.
governmental, non-governmental
in effect, what you are
organizations.
suggesting is that
This
that
is
clause should be
superfluous.
deleted.
Yes, sir, because it's
Because it
insane.
creates the impression
Please.
that states can now set up governmental, non-governmental organizations.
And that NEMA and SEMA should be
It's
extinct.
important.
And this will then undermine the existence of NEMA and SEMA.
It's
Let's not talk
important
about the
that
local
that is
NGOs.
presented at the public hearing so that officially it can be noted and acted upon.
All right. And
Oh, yeah,
the
there's one.
fourth red flag.
fourth one.
I just needed you to
Yes.
raise those four red flags. Maybe if I have some other things.
Yes,
which I've also
these
noted
are
in
just
the-
off the bat things I noticed. There's one there that says that when an organization obtains property, be it cars, buildings,
and
whatever,
the organization is no longer the project has been executed.
they now go into trust in care of the commission. Please explain that to us. I need to understand this.
We need a lot of explanation.
Yes.
In other words, if I set up an NGO for the purposes of addressing maybe water shortage in Kuruduma village in Asokoro, and I did that for 2 years or 3 years, and I've achieved that objective. And as far as this law is concerned, I should wind up. And whatever movable or immovable property that the NGO may have acquired along the line, once that objective has been achieved, all those property come back and they revert to the NGO Regulatory Commission. Why should that be?
I can't tell you here that I agree with every provision of the bill. And I don't think it is also very appropriate for me to speak against
Some
the
provision.
bill.
You are supposed to be unbiased.
Yeah,
at this
exactly,
particular time.
because I chair the committee that's going to look at it. I need to be very, very, unbiased. But sincerely speaking, I can't comprehend that particular provision. As a person, I cannot.
Well, you see, the good thing is that we are all trying to work together.
Sure.
Because like I said, this is great. It's way overdue. Because I'm happy you mentioned about the database, because that is so important. There are Nigerians abroad. I remember there was a lady, a Nigerian that works for CBS, one of the CBS radios in America.
Yeah.
When she heard about, because our head office is in Atlanta, and we had this program with the mayor of Atlanta, city of Atlanta, and it was written about in New York Times, it was written about Yahoo News, all over the major press in America.
Yeah.
And when she heard about it, she called my office in Atlanta, and she said, look, she's Nigerian, she's been looking for ways to help her people, she hasn't been in Nigeria in a long time, but she doesn't know how to find organizations to help. So this is way, way overdue. A database is fantastic because then you have the links of each of the vetted organizations. So wherever you're in the world, if you want to help do a program in Ogun State, you put in Ogun State. You say you want to do something with women empowerment, you put in the search word women empowerment. The NGOs that do that are there. You see their links. You check their websites, which must be one of the many prerequisites. You must have a website, you must have active social media. You have to have a presence because at the end of the day, we are representing Nigeria. We're representing Nigeria. And so we want to put that together. I think it's fantastic, but it has definitely, as we all agree, it needs to be worked on. And the good thing is that it's not carved in stone yet. So there's still room for adjustments and we're all working together. However, having said that, there's a comment that has been made by some of your colleagues that personally I take great offense to. First of all, I have friends that are politicians. Prior to them becoming politicians, they were very successful men and women. They're private sector businesses coming from wealthy families. They've established themselves. Before they were politicians, they were living in mansions and driving Bentleys. They are now politicians. They are still, and the reason why they join politics is not because of money. They say they want to go and eat from constituency money. No. It's because they want to help their people. Some of them even add more money to their constituency money to help. I'm sure many of you do that. However, because some bad politicians have given that title a bad name, not all politicians are fraudulent. Not all politicians, when they see them driving the Bentley, they say, hey, thief, now money. No, this person already had money. So the comment that has been made in an attempt to defend this bill, that you will see NGOs, they are living in mansions and having big farms. I am highly insulted by that. Highly, and I know I'm not speaking only on my behalf because I have friends that are successful people, professionals that have their money. yet they take their money to do NGO work. I myself, as an example, in all modesty, as whatever that might be, I don't come from a poor family. At the age of 17, if I was not wearing Gucci and Versace, I would not wear it. At the age of 21, I had my first business in America. At the age of 27, I introduced plastic surgery to West Africa, not just Nigeria. I put Nigeria on the map as a location for plastic surgery in Africa. At the age of 27, I started being featured on CNN, BBC, and the whole works. I did not start doing charity work until I was 29 years old. Till date, I still put my money into it. They see me, I wear my jewelry, I'm accustomed to good things, I work hard so I can keep feeding. Oh, yes. Sometimes you have to let people know what's up so they recognize the game. Sure. Do you understand? Nobody should dare look at me and say I should be, because I'm a philanthropist. I enter bushes, I drink pure water in the middle of nowhere to help the poor, that I should start acting and looking like I am poor when I'm using my own money. My organization, Empower 54, does know. I've been doing this for over 14 years. I'm the president and the founder. My organization does not even pay me a salary. Most times when we travel, I use my own money to buy tickets from our staff, pay for our hotels, because every donation we get from people like you and organizations, government, whatever, should go to the ground. So when comments like that are being made, in an attempt to, there's no need to be calling people thieves and slander. Some people are bad eggs, but it's not all of us. It's a great insult, not just to me as a Nigerian, not only to Nigerian philanthropies, because you cannot assume that all philanthropies are poor and hungry, and the farm and the mansions that they have is because they are eating. How much are Nigerian NGOs getting as donations in the first place, for Christ's sake? What are we talking about?
And the unfortunate thing is that the big NGOs, the United Nations agencies, that are the ones that are in custody of the big money, are the ones that are exempted from the operations of this bill.
Who said?
It doesn't mention UN. It says
international agencies.
It defined NGO as international and national, agency, organizations. It didn't exempt anyone. The only one that is not mentioned there, which the videos seem to be emphasizing, is religious organizations. There's nowhere that FBOs are mentioned in this bill. Nothing concerns religious organization, in that bill. It's not mentioned. No, CBOs are mentioned, community-based organization, not faith-based organization. So the three definitions there.
NGOs,
the three definitions there.
The operations of this bill.
Oh yes, international NGOs, national NGOs, and also community-based organizations. That is what is stated in the bill.
I'm just also looking ahead as to how those international NGOs would operate under this kind of rules that require them to.
Most of them are already complying. Most of them are already doing this. Most of them are already doing this. They have the capacity to do it anyway. Most of them are already doing that. That's just the fact of it. Madam, I regret if anybody actually referred to or made such comments about NGOs.
Actually, she's referring to the defense
there are NGOs that are doing wonderful,
have you read
the
defense bill put up by Honorable Jibril, the sponsor of the bill? I think that's what she has in mind, because that's why you see comments like, "Oh, NGOs live off community."
Because you can't say all politicians are thieves.
Exactly.
It's not fair. So you don't say all of us were eating. How much are people getting for donations that they're eating? Can they even buy decent shoes from donations?
The unfortunate thing is that every community in Nigeria is made of good, bad, and the ugly.
Yes, sir.
In most cases, a vast majority of the population are good. But there are a few bad people, bad cases that sometimes smear, an entire group. Yes, Thank God that you realize that it's happening to us in politics too. They believe that we're all thieves. And for Christ's sake, I have my background that anybody can, check. And people will call us thief. And as a result of that, when you speak in public, people look at you with all sort of impression, which I am never happy about. And so I won't be happy that we're sending anybody will do that to NGOs.
Thank you.
In any case, I am also part of this community we're talking about.
Right. President, let me raise this one. I'm on section 25 of the bill. And organization, I'm starting with you because I'd like you to look at it from the perspective of the NGO. an organization whose activities are geared towards improving the economic, social, and cultural welfare of a target group within the country, and a significant percentage of the contributions of its donors go directly to meet the needs of the target group, shall, in the formulation and implementation of projects, 1. Involve fully the participation of the specific target group, and confirmation of this should be evident on the submitted program.
Yes, my understanding of that is that, number one, you cannot say, it's always good to use examples because it makes sense, rather than just speaking English and reading long sentences.
Yeah. I want us to strip it of the English.
Absolutely.
And look at the practicality of it.
Yes. So,
using what happened in Borno State as an example, for instance.
We want to empower women, like we've done that in Gombe, Adamawa State.
Internally displaced persons.
Internally displaced persons. So we want to involve the women. This is my own layman understanding of this. So we want to involve them, and then us as an organization, what we want is we want to know the skills they have. We want to give them machinery, like what we have done severally. Now, as for a percentage of the monies raised, it is not practical to give IDPs or individuals cash. Because number one, I'm thinking long term now. I'm thinking, you know what, this woman is a tailor. Let me give her a sewing machine because, like they say, teach them how to fish rather than give them fish. Yeah. So she can be sewing. It doesn't matter how little, but at least she can save money. She can move out of the camp like many of them have. If you give her cash, she might think that, look, sewing machine is to go and buy the machine. This is not so important to me. I'm thinking about having food for the next 1 month. We all want to see things that we can hold right now. Yeah. And she goes to sell it. How effective is that program? It's not. But you have to bring them along. I mean, they have to be part of the whole process.
You have to involve them fully in the formulation and then the implementation.
The only
so
way.
I'm just wondering how somebody who is in need,
and
you have identified that need, you then need to consult him or
no, it's necessary. It's necessary because the reason why that is necessary is because I cannot help you if I don't know what your needs are. So that's getting you involved. Yeah. So I want to know what your needs are, and then you give me a list, and I determine based on my capacity what is a priority and what is not, right? Okay. And then based on that, I now go and buy the resources and I give it to you. I'm sorry, that's where it's going to end. There's nothing else that's going to be happening because at that point it's now on you to use the resources that you've been given to build your life and make it better. So I don't know what else in that clause is supposed to be happening.
Yes. Perhaps
this talks about the stage of formulation. Well, that's your planning stage, right? Building, consultation with the communities and all that. Yes. Get them involved. This is in line with both the Paris Agreement and the Accra Action Aid, as well as the Busan Agreement, which the Busan Protocol, which are 3 major protocols that guide and govern, NGOs in rendering services to. This is just practically what is being presented there. It's not out of order at all.
Not at all. I agree with Honorable because problem, Mr. G, is a lot of people assume they know what people need. Okay. And you get there, you realize that, okay, you know what, we just wasted donors' money. This is not what they need. Yeah. You know what I mean? But there's a factor, there's something I really expected.
Whatever last point you have,
yes. There was a point in there, I mean, in this, the benefits of this that I expected to see. You and I know how funds dispense when they're brought into Nigeria. Now, let me tell you how it happens. When you hear, for example, France donates 20 billion euros to Nigeria, you automatically think, oh, yeah, it's going to the Nigerian government, or it's going to the masses. It doesn't work like that. You know this, Honorable. Yeah. What happens is that the donor has a right to do, so France in this case has a right to determine who gets the money. And unfortunately, because they do not trust the Nigerian government, they insist from the beginning that the money goes to the UN agencies. Sometimes you will see it is in the press. At the signing and announcement, you see UNICEF, WHO, this one, that they've decided who gets the money. Yeah. So what happens, that money goes into their kitty. A fraction, if stipulated, will go to the Nigerian government and then to whatever ministry they indicate those projects to be executed from the Nigerian aspect. But what happens, that money is going to be used to finance UN-identified projects. They do it well, they have their reports, whatever. Yeah. It does not in any way help Nigerian NGOs. The people that benefit from that are the contractors, that the UN agencies, those agencies that collect the funds. It's good because it's helping the private sector too, because they're the ones that go and buy all the supplies. Yeah. What I would like to see in there, Honorable, is that donations, because this is meant to help us. to help money relating to monies brought into Nigeria for Nigerians and by Nigerians, whatever it is. Now, what should happen is an agreed percentage, be it minimum 50% of foreign aid brought into Nigeria to help Nigerians, must be given to Nigerian NGOs to execute programs.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these international NGOs cannot go to the places indigenous NGOs go to.
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, Honorable, you agree with that?
I agree with that, and I think that this is the way we should be looking at it.
How soon would we have this public
not going about with videos that are misinforming Nigerians, and even going to the extent of asking that rep members should be recalled because of this bill. Because that is exactly what Chidi has put in the social media.
And tell them that this
he
bill
has
is not
put
in
it
our
in the
interest.
social media, and my name is there.
Okay.
So you're going back to your...
I munched it.
Your
All
town.
right. Where
Yeah,
would
he wants to recall.
How soon would we have
When he has not been able to recall his own rep.
Comrade, how soon would we have the...
When we have funds for it.
Okay. All
When
right.
we have funds for it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's leave it there. That's just the first part of our focus on this bill. Probably tomorrow we may also continue along this line. Thank you so much for today. Honorable Peter Akpatason, MNI, is the Chair of House Committee on CSOs and Development Partners. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Princess Modupe Ozolua is Nigeria's foremost female philanthropist, the founder and president, Empower 54. Thank you so much, Princess. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Mr.
it.
Jim.
That's Focus Nigeria this Monday. Thank you for investing your time with us. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing.